Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loko Pranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loko Pranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Garashi Charanaravrindam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Garashi Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Ma Prabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Romanchakampasu Tarangavajo Vande Garashi Charanaravrindam Romanchakampasu Tarangavajo Vande Garashi Charanaravrindam Shri Vigrahara Dhanani Janana Shingaratanama Diramarjanado Dhananityanana Shingaratanama Diramarjanado Juktasya bhaktamsa niyunjatapi Vande Garashi Charanaravrindam Juktasya Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satanatriptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satanatriptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Kridvaiva Tripti Bhajato Shadeva Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Shiradikama Davayara Para Madhura Lila Gunarupanamna Shiradikama Madhura Lila Gunarupanamna Pratikshana Swa Dhanalalupasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Dhanalalupasya Charanaravrindam Ne kunjayono Rati Kelisidai Jayali Bheri Yuktir Apekshaniya Ne Tatrati Daksha Pativalavasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Tatrati Daksha Sakshat Haritena Shamasta Shastri Ruktastat Hava Gataiva Sadhavi Shamasta Shastri Ruktastat Kintu Prabhoja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charana Vrinda Kintu Prabhoja Priya Eva Tasya Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasada Dhyayam Stubham Tasya Yasatin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Dhyayam Stubham Tasya Yasatin Sandhyam Dhyayam Stubham Tasya Yasatin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatade Shatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatade Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Bol, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hariyaraye Namah Krishna Jadavaye Namah Jadavaye Madhavaya Kesavaye Namah Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Shri Shri Radha, Nila Madhav Radha, Nila Madhav Radhe, Radha. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra. Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman, Sitaram. Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaur Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaura Pramanandi Haribo. Jaya Vishwapar Paramahansa Prabha Jakachari ISKCON Pratishta Viviti Samstapakacharya Vaishnava Sramani Gaura Priya Jana Krishna Prima Bhakti Datta Patita Pavana Abhachana Vina Bhakti Viranta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Jai Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patitu Dhari Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasangana Sadguru Swami Prabhu Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय परम दयाल से नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय जय प्रेम नाम संकीर्तनिक जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिनंदन श्रीमन गौरंग चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि महावृणावतार की जय गोलोकेर प्रमधान हरि नाम संकीर्तन जय की जय जुग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय बृहद मृदंग ट्रांसडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय। श्री राधा कृष्णा गोप कुपना राधा कुंज श्याम कुंज गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। श्री ब्रजपिम वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। दिलो शिव श्री राधा नीलमाधव की जय। श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप एक चक्रधाम की जय। परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम कित्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय। भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशनक निशिंगरे भगवान की जय। जय गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री मथुरा रानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर हरि प्रमानंदे हरि बोल। All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
नमस्ते नरसिंहाय।
Namaste Narasimhaya.
नमस्ते नरसिंहाय।
Namaste Narasimhaya.
प्रहलाद लाददायिने। प्रहलाद लाददायिने। हिरण्यकाशिपूर्वक्षः। शीलतङ्कानकालये। इतो नरसिंह परतो नरसिंह। यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह। बाहे नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह। नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे। तव करकमलवरेणाकामद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिताैरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा। जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे।
तव करकमलवरेणाकामद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा। जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे।
केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा। जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे। Jayo Narasinghadev, Jayo Narasinghadev, Jayo Narasinghadev, Jayo Narasinghadev.
Jaya Nisinghadev, Jaya Nisinghadev, Jaya Nisinghadev, Jaya Nisinghadev.
Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj.
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad.
Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jayo Jayo Gurudev, 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 Jayo Jayo Gurudev.
Jai Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jai Jaya Gurudev.
भक्त विघ्न विनाशक नरसिंहदेव भगवान की, भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की,
Jai
शिला प्रभुपाद की,
Jai
शिला गुरुदेव की.
Jai. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradi Devi Shatavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradi Devi Shatavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devyai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradi Devi Shatavataye Namo Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai. Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi 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 Namo Radha Krishna Seva Pava Eyobi Lasira Radha Krishna Se Eyobi La Radha Krishna Seva Pava Eyobi Lasira Seva Pava Jai tomara sharanala tara vancha puna. Jai tomara sharana tara vancha puna. Kripa kori koro tare Vrindavanavasi. Tumi kripa kori koro tare Vrindavana. Tumi kripa kori koro tare Vrindavanavasi. Tumi kripa kari kara tare Vrindavanava. Namo Namo Moraiya Vila Vilas Kunje Diyava. Moraiya Vila Vilas Kunje Diyava. Nayane Vivo Sada Jugala Ruparasi. Aminayane Vivo Sada Jugala Ruparasi. Eni Vedana Dara Sakira no Gata Koro. Sebayari Koro Diye Koro Nijadasi. Dina Krishna Dase Koi Ei enamorao. Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadai Navasi. Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadai Navasi. Tulasi Krishna Priyasi Namo Namo. Jani Kanisa Papani Brahmahatari Kanisa Tani Tani Pranasanti Pradakshina Pari Pari. Tani Tani Pranasanti Pradakshina Pari Pari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Brinda Devi, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Brinda Devi, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Brinda Devi, Tulsi Maharani. Nittai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo, Nittai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Shattavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Shattavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Shattavatai Namo Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Tulasi Maharani ki jai. Oh Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you has wishes fulfilled. Bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavana. My desire is that you also grant me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of carried damsels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise, may I always sing in love of Shri Radha and Govinda. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrindi Devi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhyastakam ki jai. Chaito Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahada Bhagni Nivapanam Shri Akari Vachandi Kavitaranam Vidya Vadhu Jivanam Ananda Mudivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Shradanam Sarvatmasnam Param Param Vijayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Baudha Nija Sarvashaktis Tatra Pitta Nimitta Shmarane Nakala Ita Drishitava Krupaya Bhagavan Mahamati Durdaivam Idrisham Yajanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sarishnana Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmane Janmaneshwari Bhavatar Bhaktira Idyuti Tvani Oi Nandatanu Jakinkaram Paritamam Vishame Bhava Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stitaduli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nanam Galora Shrudharaya Vadanam Gadagadharudaya Gira Pulakaini Chitamba Pukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavisati Jugai Itam Nimishena Chakrusha Prabhusa Itam Shunya Itam Jagata Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me Aslishava Padaratam Pinashtamam Adarshanar Marmahatam Karotuva Jatata Thava Vidadhatulam Pata Matprana Tastusa Evana Paraha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhastakam Ki Jai Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Pradayati Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Shri Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays, the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by holy names. But I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself Lord and strong in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause of devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yes, somehow or other I'm falling this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh my Lord, and will my eyes
be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Siksastakam Ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu Budaya Krishna Basta Bhutali Samati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Mani Bhutani Devi Sesi Sanyamati Paskadis.
There are 10 offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1.
To blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their lives to propagating the holy names of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent names of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance to the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna as imagination. 6. To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruit of activities of karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10. do not have complete faith in the chanting of holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us live all based on all Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpatarabhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutili Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Vicharini Visesanyari Paskati Dasa. Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Om Aganya Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurimiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Grave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Swapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatahapachakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Shri Visakha Vitamsha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namini Shivasavani Videvi Dayitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujjvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktita Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudhapa Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Shakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravir Bhava Bhumistvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpa Turabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurachase Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Suratur Pangur Mama Manda Mater Gati Matsarva Swapadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vinduranya Kalpadumada Hashimad Ratnagara Simhasanastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamano Smarami Shiman Rasa Rasa Rambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsanvina Swaner Gobir Gopinatak Striyestuno Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Brahmasamhita ki jai. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chentamani Prakarasat Masakalpa Vriksha Laksavrite Susurabhi Rabhipali Antam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasam Brahma Sevyamanam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kvanantam Arvinda Dalaya Taksam Parhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visesh Sobham Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandrakala Sadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shamam Tribanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakilendriya Vittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purisham Navyovanam Cha Vedesa Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastiko Tisatavatsara Sampragam Yogvaya Radhabi Manasomani Pungamanam Sopyasti Yat Prapada Simya Vichintya Tatve Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Jayatum Jagaranda Kotim Yaschakti Rasti Jagaranda Chaya Yadanta Dantarasta Paramana Chayantarastam Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyomana Justa Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayanabusa Suktarya Mevan Yigama Pratitaistuvanti Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Patibhavita Abhistabirya Evani Chirupa Taya Kalabi Koloke Evani Vasata Kliyababuto Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hidesa Vilokayantiyam Shamasundaram Achinta Gunaswarupam Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramati Murti Sukalani Menatistan Anavatar Makarobu Vanesa Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Samvamyo Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhuto Jagaranda Koti Koti Svasesa Vasadadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahmanis Kalamanantam Asesa Bhutam Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Mayahi Yasya Jagaranda Satani Sute Traigunya Tad Visaya Vida Vitaya Mano Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Masasu Yapraninam Pativilam Smaratam Upetya Lilayatena Bhuvanani Jaya Jasram Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijidamni Tale Chitasya Devi Mahesa Haridama Sute Sutesu Tete Prabhavani Chaya Vitasta Yena Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shrististati Palaya Sadava Sakti Reka Chaya Vyasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichana Rupam Abhyasya Chitesta Sesa Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shiramyata Dadivekara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Nahita Tapritakasti Eto Yasam Bhutama Pitata Samapaitikaya Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Departure Vita Santanam Abhipetya Dipayate Vivitahita Samanadharma Yastadra Geva Hicha Vishnu Tayavibhati Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narna Vajale Bhajtisma Yoga Nidrama Nanta Jagaranda Saroma Kupa Adhara Saktam Avalamya Param Swamurtim Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nisvasita Kalamata Valambya Jivanti Loma Villaja Jagaranda Nata Vishnu Mahansa Yasya Kalavi Sesa Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pasmanya Tasma Sakalesha Tesha Sriyam Kiya Prakatiya Tapitatva Tatra Pramaya Esa Jagadanda Randa Karta Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Dwande Pranama Samaye Saganadi Raja Vignam Vihantu Malamasya Jagatrayasya Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahiga Ganamambu Marudisas Chakalas Tatatva Manasiti Jagatrayanya Yasmad Bhavanti Vivanti Sansha Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yas Chaksuresa Sabita Sakala Grahana Raja Samasta Suramurti Rasesa Teja Yasyagaya Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakro Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmota Papa Nichaya Sutayastapam Se Brahmadi Kita Patakava Desa Jiva Yadata Matri Bhava Prakatapa Bhava Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yastrendra Gopma Matavendra Mahosva Karma Pandana Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nita Hatikuntu Vajak Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kamasa Japranada Biti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhava Sanchintya Tasya Sadhusintan Mahaparete Govinda Madhi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpatara Dharmabu Mischinta Manikana Mahito Amamrita Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Sipriyasa Ki Chiranandam Jyoti Param Apitada Swatyam Apichasa Yachasiradi Vivishabadi Surabi Vyastusuma Nyesa Dakya Vavu Yachati Nahiyatra Bhisamaya Vajesrita Dutam Tamaham Ilagokam Itiyam Itantuasta Santakshati Virachari Katipaye See Guru Pranama Paris Kijay. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it. So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing a blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master is an ocean of auspicious quality. Chanting the holy name, dancing as I see, singing and playing musical instruments. Spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he is relishing the knowledge of pure devotion with his mind. Sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears flow in his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisance unto lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master is always engaged in temple worship. Shri Radha and Krishna, he also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship. But Lord, I have my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, and unless that's with lish, true, drunk, and suck. When the spiritual master sees that the devotee is satisfied by eating Bhagavat Prasada, he is satisfied. I have my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conscious compassion of Radhika and Madhava and the qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I from my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal love and friendship, and the grows from Vrindavan. I offer my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master to be honored by the Supreme Lord because he is most confident servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all real scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master, the bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Grantharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3, verse number 6. Sutam Hridekam Vapusha Grasantam Justva Sunabon Matitam Daritriya Amantritastat Tanayaya Sesam Datva Tadanta Puram Avivesa. Sutam, sun, Mride, in the fight. Kam, the sky. Vapusa, by his body. Grasantam, while devouring. Dristva, seeing. Sunaba, by the Sudarsana wheel. Anmatitam, killed. Daritriya, by the earth. Amantriya, being prayed for. Tat Tanayaya, to the son of Narakasura. Shesam, that which was taken from. Datva, returning it. Tat, his. Antapuram, inside the house. Avivesha, entered. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Narakasura, the son of Daritri, the earth, tried to grasp the whole sky, and for this he was killed by the Lord in a fight. His mother then prayed to the Lord. This led to the return of the kingdom to the son of Narakasura, and thus the Lord entered the house of the demon. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It is said in other Puranas that Narakasura was the son of Daritri, the earth, by the Lord himself, but he became a demon due to the bad association of Bana, another demon. An atheist is called a demon, and it is a fact that even a person born of good parents can turn into a demon by bad association. Birth is not always the criterion of goodness, unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association. One cannot become good. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, so this is very short purport, but it has very important information here. And we should take note of this because this is crucial for raising children properly and for adults to remain in Krishna consciousness without deviating. So, therefore, we see how Daritri, basically she's the earth, or you could also call her Bhumi Devi. So she had a child by mercy of the Lord. So in other Puranas, it said that Narakasura was the son of Daritri, the earth, by the Lord himself. So here we have Narakasura, who he's a son of Mother Earth and Krishna. So he has an exalted, very auspicious birth. But he becomes a demon, an asura. And why? Because he associated with another demon named Banasura, who was an enemy of Krishna. So we see how easy it is to be detracted or to be taken off the path of pure devotional service by bad association. That's why you should never send your kids to public schools or even some private schools, because they're going to be exposed to evil people or asuras. Anybody who's an atheist is an asura, a demon. And demons hate Krishna, so they'll do everything to convince another person that Krishna is not God and that they should be more concerned with science and logic and reasoning, which are all false things, because we have 4 fundamental defects that disqualify us from understanding what the truth is. What are those 4 fundamental defects of every living entity in the material world? 1, they make mistakes. 2, they're easily illusioned. 3, their senses are imperfect and limited. And 4, they have a cheating propensity. These are the 4 fundamental defects that every human being has when they have a material body in the material world. So it is impossible for the living entity to understand the supreme absolute truth with these 4 defects. However, if one is fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee of Krishna and is fortunate enough to be attracted to hearing such devotees, just like when I joined ISKCON, I was taught to hear from Prabhupada on a daily basis. And because I did that, I've always stayed in the movement. 53, almost 54 years now. Because I like to hear from Prabhupada. I like to read Prabhupada's books. Of course, there are so many books, but Prabhupada gave us enough books to spend many lifetimes trying to understand. So why should I read any other book? Before, I thought one becomes educated by reading many books. So I collected a huge library when I was a Grihastha. And then I realized it was a waste of time getting all those other books, that everything I needed was right there in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then if you have extra time, nectar, devotion, Ishopanishad. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. To be fully educated. And that's enough for several lifetimes, many lifetimes of study. Right? And actually, you only need to know one book thoroughly, and that's Bhagavad Gita. Just like a Christian minister, he knows only one book. It's called the Bible. And the Muslim imam, he only knows one book. That's called Quran. And the rest of their life, they're preaching from that one book. And that has the quintessential, that's a very nice word, quintessential, Quintessential, I think. Quintessential means the most fundamental, the best, the cream of the crop literature, and that is Bhagavad Gita, number 1, Srimad Bhagavatam, number 2, And Chaitanya Charitamrita is the postgraduate study. Our Bhagavad Gita undergraduate, and Bhagavatam graduate, and Chaitanya Charitamrita postgraduate study. So we have everything. Prabhupada has given us everything. That shouldn't stop devotees from writing books, but we should never distribute any of those books. We should only distribute Prabhupada's books. And we should be very, very dedicated to hearing from Prabhupada. Therefore, he had so many lectures, were taken down on tape and then later on transferred into text. So we have thousands of Prabhupada's lectures. That we have not only the tape, but the recording, but we have also the text. So we have everything to keep us busy for many lifetimes. Okay, so therefore, Narakasura, although his father is Krishna, his mother is Bhumi Devi, or Daritri, he becomes a demon by associating with this Banasura, just like Dhritarashtra. He got contaminated also by having let's say Kamsa, he got contaminated completely by having bad friends. After he tried to kill Krishna and it failed, and Durga told him that Krishna is safely somewhere else and he's going to kill you, he became very repentant. What does it say, quintessential? Let's take this microphone and put it down. We should automatically do that when we come to the temple.
It said it's the representing the most perfect element of the category.
Exactly. It's the cream of the crop. So, same thing happened to Kamsa. After he was devastated because he thought he was going to kill Krishna, and he's trying to kill Durga, who he worships, right? Instead of seeing a little boy, there's a little girl, and as soon as he tries to smash that little girl's head on the ground, she jumps up into the air and manifests her form as Durga Mata. Well, Durga Mata for Kamsa, but Yogamaya for Vasudeva and Devaki. So this means that to be able to see Yogamaya, we would have to become a devotee. And if you're a non-devotee, instead of seeing Yogamaya, you see Durga Mata. And Durga scared the heck out of him by telling him that, first of all, she has a ferocious form. She assumed her ferocious form. She has like over 108 different forms. So she manifested her form as Kali Mata, and it's very frightening. And she frightened the heck out of him, saying, "Oh, Krishna is far away and safe, and he's going to kill you as prophesized." So he became very repentant, and he apologized to Vasudeva and Devaki. He let him out of jail. But then he associated with his friends, who were all demons. Agasura, Pralambasura, Sakatasura, and Kaliya, and all these different demons. And then he put him back, he put Vasudeva and Devaki back to jail. And then he ordered these demons to go. He heard that maybe Krishna's in Vrindavan, so he ordered them to go to Vrindavan and kill every child. Right? So, but those demons, as they went one by one to try and kill Krishna, he killed them. So, but he became a demon due to the bad association of Bana, another demon. An atheist is called a demon. So, most teachers today, most of them, not maybe all of them, but most teachers, whether in India or Europe or in the United States or Australia or South Africa or South America, most of them are atheistic. So you never want an atheist to teach your kid, because that way, see, when someone says, "Oh, well, you send your kid to the school and we'll educate him," well, you have to first do research to see if those people are atheists or not atheists, and if they're not atheists, what are they exactly, and do they have good habits or bad habits? Do they eat meat? Do they take intoxicants? Do they engage in illicit activities? Do they speculate all the time? So if they do any one of those, you shouldn't let your child be educated by that person, because they're going to mislead the child. They themselves are misled. So how can they teach anything of value? Someone said, well, we can come to the temple, learn spiritual things, but we have to send our kids to learn to socialize. What? Socialize means associate with and be friends with and be in close contact with. You don't want to socialize with demons. So, you can learn about the demons just by reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. You don't have to live with them 6 or 8 hours a day to know what they are. Right? So this is a big fallacy, a big mistake that many devotee parents are making. And it's unnecessary. But people think, oh, no, it's necessary. My child has to learn to socialize with the Americans. You don't have to socialize with the Americans. They should socialize with you to learn how to become devotees. That's a different thing. But not we associate with them to learn how to become demons. So an atheist is called a demon, and it is a fact that even a person born of good parents can turn into a demon by bad association. There it is. Even a child born of good parents can turn into a demon by bad association. Birth is not always the criterion of goodness unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association. One cannot become good. Wow, there it is. This one short paragraph purport is enough to sustain us in Krishna consciousness for the rest of our life if we understand what's being said. The words are simple. The concepts are very, very big. And most people say, oh, I understand this, but they don't follow it. So how can you say you understand it? If you don't follow it, then you don't understand it. So just like if someone said, oh, don't go into this neighborhood, you might get killed. And you say, oh, well, nobody's going to kill me. I can go in that neighborhood. And you go in that neighborhood and you get killed. So there are places like that in India and the United States. You go into that neighborhood, very good chance you get attacked or killed or robbed or beaten up because there are dangerous people there, right? Just like nowadays, in India, Muslims are rioting. They're throwing stones. They're collecting a lot of stones in their houses, and when some Hindu walks by, they throw it at them, try to kill him. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of that statement, one of the spokesperson
Yeah.
visiting India.
And they're saying now all the Hindus should move out of India. They can go to other places. India is our country now. So they're demons. They're not actually devotees. But there are a lot of Hindus that are demons also. So that's why this is happening. Okay, so this is a huge purport. And if we can learn, understand what's being said, then we can make a lot of spiritual advancement quickly and protect our family, especially our children, so they grow up to be good devotees. Okay, so the next verse, text 7. Tatra hitasta naradeva kanya kujana jistva harim arta bandhun Utaya sadyo jagrihu praharsa Vridanuraga Prahitava Lokai. Tatra, inside the house of Narakasura. By the way, in South India, when they celebrate Diwali, it's not because of Rama coming back to Ayodhya. It's because of Narakasura being defeated by Krishna and the wives being liberated and marry Krishna. So it's very interesting how things are a little bit different in different places. But it's still related to Krishna. Arita, kidnapped. Ta, all those, I'm sorry. Naradeva Kanya, daughters of many kings. Kujena, by the demon. Dristva, by seeing. Harim, the Lord. Artabandhun, the friend of the distressed. Uttaya, at once got up. Sadhya, then and there. Jagruhu, accepted. Praharsha, joyfully. Vrida, shyness. Anuraga, attachment. Prahita avalokai, by eager glances. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. There in the house of the demon, all the princesses kidnapped by Narakasura at once became alert upon seeing the Lord, the friend of the distressed. They looked upon him with eagerness, joy, and shyness, and offered to be his wives. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Notice there's some really significant Sanskrit words like Arta Bandhum, the friend of the distressed. That's in the name of Krishna. He's the friend of the distressed. And also Prahita Avalokai, by eager glances. So this is the way people, let's say, associate with Krishna in the spiritual world. They express many of their feelings by their eyes, and the quality of the nature of their eyes. So that when they're eagerly looking at the Lord, that's very significant. That means they have love for the Lord or great respect for the Lord. So that type of seeing is very, very auspicious, and that's what's going on in the spiritual world. They don't have to have gross bodily contact to express their love and devotion. They can do it with glances and movements of the eyebrows and so forth. It's and that's much more explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it says, but when he was killed by the Lord, Narakasura, and the Lord entered the house of the demon, all the princesses were enlivened with joy and offered to become his wives, because the Lord is the only friend of the distressed. So we see, even in the time of Krishna, there were these demons like Narakasura kidnapping beautiful princesses from their father and mother and these in different kingdoms, and sequestering them in his so-called impregnable palace. He had a palace that was impossible to enter into because it had different layers of protective mantras and physical obstructions. But yet, Krishna pierced it and killed Narakasura. So even, but the demons, they think that with their science and their building very sturdy buildings and this and that, that they'll be it'll be impossible to defeat them. Ravana thought the same thing, that it was impossible for anyone to reach him in Lanka. Even the demigods tried to defeat him, and they were defeated by him. So he had a invincible type of protective area called Lanka. But yet, Krishna built a bridge by floating gigantic boulders and walked from Kanyakumari to Lanka and defeated Ravana with a whole army of monkeys. So the calculation of the demons always falls short of reality because they have blind spots in their psyche, which is due to being atheistic, denying the existence of God. Therefore, they have a very limited understanding of reality. They miss many things, and therefore they miscalculate, and they get defeated by those miscalculations. Just like Hitler was defeated because he miscalculated his relationship with Stalin. And although he had a peace treaty with Stalin, he broke the treaty by attacking Stalin. And he thought that it was going to be easy to conquer Russia. But no, it wasn't. And he lost 1 million men. 1 million men were killed. Germans were killed or taken prisoner by the Russians. And eventually the Russians, completely decimated Germany. So Germany was attacked by the Americans on one and Europeans on one side and the Russians on the other side. And that crushed Germany. So people make mistakes. Demons make mistakes because their understanding of reality is not complete. It's very incomplete. When you have incomplete understanding, you make big mistakes. And just like Hiranyakashipu made big mistakes. He thought that he was invincible, but he wasn't. And Ravana made big mistakes. He thought that he was also invincible, that no one could defeat him. But he never imagined that someone who's a human being could defeat him because he was eating human beings, just like the demons eat hamburgers today. Well, in Ravana's day, he was an asura. He used to eat human beings. He'd put them between two pieces of buns and eat them, right? So he couldn't imagine that Lord Ramachandra could defeat him because Lord Ramachandra appeared to be like an ordinary human being. But he wasn't. He had the full power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so unless the Lord... so the princesses were enlivened with joy and offered to become his wives because the Lord is the only friend of the distressed. That's another fact. He is Sridam Sarvabhutanam, the best friend of every living entity, because he's right in our heart as Paramatma. And therefore, everyone is looking for God out there, but actually they should learn to look in there, because he's right in the heart. And this is the mistake that we make. Oftentimes when I chant, I'll put my hands in my heart like this and chant, because I want to be as close as I can to be the Krishna, right? And the heart is the source of energy, because Krishna and you, or as the jiva, are present in the heart. So all the energy of the body is coming from the heart, coming from Paramatma and from Jivatma. So all these things you learn gradually, but if you hear it but don't learn it because your mind is overwhelmed with material, obtaining material opulence, then you waste your life. You waste your whole life. Even though you know about Krishna consciousness, you know something about Krishna, and maybe you chant a little bit, but you'll waste your life chasing after a phantom. Look that word up, Phantom, phantom. A phantom is something that looks real but is not real.
It's a figment of imagination.
Right. Why do you imagine things like phantoms? Because people who don't follow regulative principles, their mind plays tricks on them. because they're not following the regulative principles. So they make many mistakes. And this is one of the foibles or weaknesses of the human being. They make mistakes, and then when they believe that the mistake is true, although it's not true, then they're illusioned, and when they act as if the illusion is real, then they're in a state of delusion. And in a state of delusion, they make huge mistakes, and they become completely prisoners of Maya. Everything they think, do, is inspired by Maya, and therefore they self-destruct at that point. See? So this having incomplete understanding of reality will lead to being self-destructive. Just like you see so many homeless people, many of them are homeless because they're drug addicts. That means they're self-destructing. They're trying to kill themselves. I saw my father. He was killing himself. He was smoking 4 packs of cigarettes. Each cigarette package has like, I don't know, 20, 30 cigarettes in it, right? So 4 times, let's say 30 is 120, right? So he was smoking 120 and inhaling them, putting the smoke into his lungs and then holding it there a little bit and then exhaling. The lungs are not made for smoke. They're made for air. And then you extract oxygen and from the air, and then the oxygen circulates through the bloodstream and purifies the body. We stay alive when oxygen is being circulated through the whole bloodstream, and especially the mind, the brain. It enlivens the brain. When there's a lack of oxygen to the brain, you have terrible headaches. Eventually, you can have a stroke. If there's a lack of oxygen to the heart, you have a heart attack. If there's a lack of oxygen to some part of the body, you get cancer. So oxygen is the most important thing, right? So if you're like this all day, on the computer, and you don't really breathe very well, right? And if you're inside the house and you haven't taken the trash out, so you're breathing in toxins all the time, and you're crouched like this looking at the computer, and you're getting the radiation of the computer going right into your eyes, right into your brain. There's radiation coming out from computers and cell phones, right? So you can get cancer just by spending all the time on the computer and the cell phone. They're dangerous instruments. See, we don't realize how dangerous they are, right? And it can affect your brain seriously, and then people who like continually playing video games, there are people. I mean, you look it up. Child dies by playing computer games over and over again. Sometimes they don't even eat. They just spend 3 days playing the computer game, and then they die from malnutrition and from all the radiation. Do you see anything like that? Huh?
Yeah.
What's it say?
So I don't know if this has died, but a 16-year-old boy collapses after playing games for hours.
For how long?
Actually, he died. Yeah.
What?
This is in 2021 February. A 16-year boy. This is in Tamil Nadu in India.
Oh, Tamil Nadu. Oh, Chai, India.
Yeah, the boy collapses after playing video game for hours and died after he reportedly played an online game continuously for several hours.
Several hours only? No, Chinese are better than the Indians. This one Chinese kid, he was playing, I think, 3 days total, continually, not eating, not drinking, not sleeping, and he died. But I didn't know Indians are trying to imitate the Chinese. How about that? You see, so these things, these instruments, these Xboxes and cell phones and video games, they're dangerous. They're very dangerous, and it completely seizes the mind of a child, and they can't get off the video games, and they can't. And the video games are all violent, and also movies today, all the movies, you look at them, they're all violent. They have guns and shooting people and killing people all the time. So this is what's ruining society today. Like the boy that killed 20 people, 20 kids. He went into I guess it was a first grade classroom. There were like maybe 30 kids in that classroom, and a teacher, one or two teachers. He killed the teachers, and he killed 20 of the kids. Right? So how did he learn to do that? I mean, he was only like, I think he was only maybe 17 years old. How did he do that? He was playing on a video game called Fortnite, which teaches you to be a murderer, a killer, a anti-human beast, and a demon. It teaches kids to be demons, actually. It's called...
There is a Wikipedia article on video game related health problems.
Yeah.
So video games, since their inception, have been the subject of concern due to the depictions of violence they may contain, which have heightened as the technology behind video games improves the amount of visual detail and realism of games.
Realism of games, see? Realism of games. That's the point. It seizes the mind of a kid. The kids are unprepared to deal with something like this. So they become completely mesmerized, hypnotized by these games. They can't get off of it. And they don't want to eat, they don't want to sleep, they just want to keep playing the game. And then if they have a friend that plays the same game, then it's competitive. So then that's another thing that drives them crazy. They want to beat the other guy. You see, and the games are getting more and more violent and more real, because now they're producing the metaverse where you can actually have sense perceptions through the machine, and this machine can also feel your senses, so it's almost real. It's still phony, but it's almost real, right? So all of this is to seize the mind of young kids and program them to be materialists and demons. Go ahead, read somewhere.
Yeah, so here it says, video games are often seen as a possible cause to violent actions.
As a possible cause? No, it is the cause. That's not a possible cause. It is the cause of violence. Go ahead.
Yeah, so lots of parents and teachers think that video games cause violence and mental problems, and some have said that gaming can give kids skin problems and anger and depression.
Anger and depression, definitely. I don't know about skin problems.
However, lots of students say that school makes them extremely depressed in some cases.
What? School what?
Schools apparently make them more depressed and suicidal. That's what the kids claim, apparently. Some students say that connecting online, they're giving different viewpoints here. The students say that connecting online helps them calm down.
Yeah, by killing. They get calmer by killing the people, the enemies. So send that to me, and then send it out to all the parents so they can understand what's really happening to kids. Yes.
I like school.
You like school? Okay. Well, everybody has free will. You want to be.
School is important, right?
What?
Which school? Which type of school? That is important. I mean, school is good.
Well, see.
General school is good, right?
We'll hear some years from now if you still like school. My prediction is that as long as you feel that you're successful getting good grades, you like it. But as soon as you become addicted to bad habits, then you'll change your mind. Because what did the school teach you in the end? It taught you to be a materialist and a demon. And you'll realize that later on. Right now, school seems to be very, let's say, entertaining, right? But later on, you'll see that it actually ruined your life. Well, in other words, it takes you away from Krishna. It depends, what do you mean by school? I mean, this is a school right now. Right? So what you're hearing in that school is not like what you're hearing in this school. Right? And what you're hearing in this book is not like what you're hearing in those books in the school. Say, what's recommended reading at your age in school? Dog Man. Did you read that book yet? Dog Man? Huh? What?
You already read it.
You see? We're teaching Bhagavad Gita, and they're teaching you Dog Man. That should be enough to be, that's a red flag. That should be enough to convince you that, wait a minute, I'm wasting my time over there. They're teaching me Dog Man, and they're trying to teach me Bhagavad Gita here. So compare Dog Man to Bhagavad Gita. And you'll see Dog Man is complete nonsense. Bhagavad Gita makes complete sense. But you were forced to read it. That's the whole point. You might like it or not like it, but you were forced to read it. They didn't say read Bhagavad Gita. They said read Dog Man. And as you get older, they're going to make you read more and more nonsense books like Dog Man. You'll see. But the only book you have to read is Bhagavad Gita. You learn Bhagavad Gita, you get full education. Okay, so let's just finish this purport. Unless the Lord accepted them, there would be no chance for their being married because the demon kidnapped them from their father's custody, and therefore no one would agree to marry them. So previously, in the ancient times, if a girl stayed away from home for 1 hour, or 1 day outside of the protection of her parents, no one would marry her. Why? Because she might have become defiled or contaminated by some demon. Just like this demon, Narakasura, what did he do? He kidnapped young girls and forced them to live with him, and then he violated them. So they would be considered contaminated, and no decent man would ever marry a woman like that. Right? So when Krishna defeated Narakasura and basically killed him, and then entered his palace, all the girls, and there were like thousands, there were 16,000 girls had been kidnapped by Narakasura. Just see what a demon he was. And they all prayed to Krishna when they saw him, please marry us. And Krishna said, well, how can I marry 16,000? They said, please don't joke around with us. We know who you are. You are the Supreme Personality of God. If you want 16 million wives, you could marry 16 million wives. But we're only 16,000 girls, so you marry us. So Krishna said, okay. And he married all of them. He built a separate palace for each one. He expanded himself 16,108 times to live with each one individually. And with each one, he had 10 children. They were all boys, 10 boys. And no one can emulate or no one can equal Krishna. It's impossible, right? Even the most, let's say, richest sheikh in Saudi Arabia or in the Middle East, they have maybe 100 wives sometimes. They do. They go up to 100, 140. One guy had 140 wives, right? Krishna had 16,108 wives. So you see how powerful Krishna is. And he was personally present with each one, and he built a gigantic palace for each one with emeralds and gold and all kinds of precious jewels and everything with perfect marble. And so, you know, the so-called rich people today, they're nothing compared to Krishna. So we have to hear this to understand who Krishna is exactly. So according to Vedic society, girls are transferred from the custody of the father to the custody of the husband. Since these princesses had already been taken away from the custody of their fathers, it would have been difficult for them to have any husband other than Lord Krishna, or Lord himself. So Krishna marries 16,000 girls that had been kidnapped and defiled by Narakasura. And then the other 108 are different women that he married, or won through, like Rukmini and Satyabhama, through Kshatriya battles and things like that. Okay, so we'll stop right there. Are there any questions?
So within our scriptures, there is references to polygamy, monogamy. So
Yes. Lord Ramachandra established monogamy. Okay, but look at Dasarath. He had 3 or 4 wives. Look at all the trouble he got into. Right? And look at Ramachandra. He only had 1 wife. Look at all the trouble he got into. Right? He had to fight this huge battle to get her back. Right? He didn't say, "Oh well, I can just get some other wife. I don't have to, why should I worry about my Sita Devi? Let him have her. I'll just get another one." No, he didn't let up until he actually liberated her. Right? But after he liberates her, he tells her because people are doubting her purity, although she proved that she was never unfaithful to Lord Ramachandra, but because they were doubting her purity, it was affecting him, the way they saw him, the way the people saw him. So he banned his wife. He sent her away, not because he was mean or anything, but because he had 2 purposes. One was Ekapatni Vrat, and the other was Ram Raja. Ekapatni Vrat was to establish that a really high-class man only marries 1 woman in his whole lifetime, right, and stays faithful his whole lifetime. And then secondly, that society should be ruled by a saintly king. So those were the 2 purposes why he appeared, Ram Raja and Ekapatni Vrat. And we can discuss that later on. Okay, so we'll stop right there. Thank you very much. And I used to like school also. But as I got older and progressed in school, I realized, even though I wasn't a devotee, I realized it was very bad for me. It was not good at all. Because in the end, all I learned was how to engage in sense gratification. I did not really learn anything about life. That's why after I graduated from the University of Pennsylvania, which is a Ivy League college, I decided that I was not really educated. So I decided to travel, and I left America, the United States, and I traveled throughout the world. And fortunately, I met Krishna consciousness, and then I got educated. I was not educated in school. I was taught all the wrong things. Yeah.
Yeah, but we need to just saying, okay, we should not go to school, but we need to have alternatives, options, a solution. Nowadays, homeschooling, yes,
is an
it's
option,
not
a real option,
feasible. Now, old days also, we never had a homeschooling concept. It's just a recent modern concept of homeschooling.
No,
right?
Originally, everything was homeschooling.
I think it was Gurukul, right? Everybody used to go.
But that is like homeschooling because it was a Brahmana in a small village, and the kids would come, and he would educate them, right? And train them in Krishna consciousness. But they were with the parents, right? Later on, sometimes they would live with the guru in his house, and the guru would accept maybe 5 or 6 or 2 or 3 disciples, and he would train them fully. And then they would decide whether they want to get married or they remain brahmacharis. So, I mean, there was a system in India that was working for millions of years, and it was very effective.
Yeah, but there was a guru always. Here we are trying to be a guru. Each parent is trying
You're
to be a
not
guru.
allowed to have children unless you are a guru. Did you know that?
Yeah.
There's a verse like that.
Teaching Maharaj is little, I mean, somebody needs a professional.
You're not allowed to be a parent unless you can be a guru. Otherwise, you're going to mislead your child. It's actually sinful to not be guru to your children and to your wife. It's sinful. You will suffer for not having properly trained them.
Yeah, each parent is guru, but again, there are different gurus, like for education purpose.
Therefore, you have to offer your children to be educated by a real guru and not these nonsense people who eat meat. Anybody who eats meat, anybody who's an atheist is a demon. That's what demons do. They eat meat and they don't believe in God. They want to kill God. And if you're a parent and you don't act as a bona fide guru, you're going to be subject to severe karma because you misled your children and you misled your wife also. I'll give you that verse. You can read it. Yeah. A king suffers too if he misleads the citizens. Yeah. Haribol. By the way, if you don't surrender to Krishna, that right there is a sin, and you'll suffer. Right. So whether it's Krishna as Krishna or Rama or Nrsimha, or it could be as the father of Jesus or the God of Muhammad, right? You have to surrender to God. If you don't, because we're part and parcel of God. If we refuse to surrender to God, it is sinful, and we suffer because of it. We suffer karmic reactions because we're refusing to surrender to God. Even people don't even understand when Krishna says Sarvadharmam Parityaja. He means, listen, give everything else up and just surrender unto me, and I will protect you, and I'll give you all knowledge, and I will take you back to Godhead. So if a person does not surrender to God in this lifetime, they are sinful and they get karmic reactions for it. This is what you should teach your children. All right. Haribol. All glories to Prabhupada. You want to know why the weather is not cooperating with people like, right? It's a huge heat wave now in the southwestern part of the United States, right? And they're already rationing water in California again, right? And California could run out of water. It's Southern California could run out of water. If they do, it's a catastrophe, right? Southern California used to be a desert. It's only fertile because they built that big Hoover Dam, and they're getting water from the Colorado River. Yeah. So it could go back to being a desert. And parts of India, it's very hot right now also, and other parts of the world.
Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Bando Moi Savadana Mate
Mando Mui Savadana Mate
Jara Prasade Bai E Baba Toriya Jai
Janara Prasadeva Kevala Bhakadi Sadma
Krishna Prapti O Jaha Hote
Krishna Prapti Oya
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitite Koriya Kya
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitite Koriya Kya
Arana Kori Ho Mane Asha
Arana Koriya Mane Asa
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Utama Gati
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Utama Gati
Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha
Ye Prasade Pure Savaka
Chakshudan Dilo Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Se
Chakshudan Dila Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Se
Chakshudan Dilo Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Se
Chakshudan Dila Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Se
Divya Gyan Hruday Prakasito
Divya Gyani De Prakasito
Prema Bhakti Jahote Avidya Vinasa Jati
Prema Bhakti Jate Avidya Vinasajate
Vede Gai Jahara Charito
Vedegaya Janaracharito
Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu
Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu
Lokena Lokera Jivana
Lokena Lokera Jivana
Ha ha Prabhu Koro Doya Deo More Pada Chaya
Ah Prabhu Kura Doya Deya More Padachaya
Ebe Jaz Goshik Tribhuvana
Ebe Asukti Bhuvana
Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhodale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine
Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishaya Bhutale Mati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini.
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine.
Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine.
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine.
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva.
Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva.
Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol.
Jaya Guru Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol. Jayom Vishnupad Paramansa Paravajagachasta Tarasatara Shi Mad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Goho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Ayodhya Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the Symbol Doers. All glories to the Symbol Doers. All glories to the Symbol Doers. Glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hello, Hare Krishna. Well, then, great awe and reverence. By His grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from His lotus mouth. Attachment to His lotus feet is the perfection and fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From Him, ecstatic prema emanates. By Him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of His character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavan Ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Prabhu, you have to be a guru. You have to be a guru. That thing is a devotee.